All right, so welcome. We're going to talk a little bit about a couple of things, and hopefully we'll get you some good information about about things. But the question we have right now is, where are you? So where are you? We're here at Mocha in Clifton Park. We can get that, right? But the question is more general in terms of where are you, and more importantly actually is, where are you going, right? And after we come out of this pandemic, and yes, the last time we were here we were talking more about COVID and all those issues, but we need to step beyond that, and we need to step into a better situation, because quite honestly, we've all gotten a little bit sick of talking about COVID and understanding that the world needs to move on. We need to move on. So that's why our questions tonight are, where are we and where are we going? So let's look at a couple things. You all should, Katie May handed you out a little handout today. Maybe if you want to turn that over in the back, we're going to do a little information, and you can see from there. What I'm going to ask you to do is kind of grade yourself 1 to 10, 10 being the best. And let's look at a couple of parameters there. You can look there. I've got physical, mental, and spiritual. Now these will not be collected. I will not be grading them, but just for your own situation, take a couple minutes and look in the back, and let's say physical. So where do you stand? Where do you stand right now? How are you doing now that we've come through the pandemic? Obviously, during the pandemic, your motions, your ability to get around was a little bit restricted. And right now, I think that a lot of people, of course, the mask mandate went off on from the airlines. A lot of people really are busting to get out, right? And of course, we're in the Saratoga region. Track season's coming up, SPAC season's coming up. I know we'll be at the Jazz Festival come at the end of June, right? So people want to get out, and right now the physical issues are, how are you feeling about your own situation right now in terms of your abilities, your physical abilities, and then also, how are you feeling? Did you gain that 10 pounds or maybe it was 19, I don't know, Dave, the 19 pounds over the COVID-19 time, all right? Are you getting out now that we are able to move about the country? Are you outside, especially on a good day like this, all right? Are you moving? Movement is so important for all of us. Even for those people, and Katie May will tell you, even in the office, when people are even if they're in a wheelchair, you can still do a lot of things with your arms and other things, and you gotta be in motion, right? And the other great thing about being in motion, you really have, people will go into the mental health issue, but the fact is, when you're in motion, it's always good things happening. You're moving forward, things are happening, and it's a little tough to get depressed when you're in motion, you're moving, all right? So just take a couple minutes and we'll go through a couple of these, but physical is the first part. So give yourself a grade 1 to 10, 10 being the best. And again, I will not be grading these, not be collecting these, but I don't know, I might have to grade Jeremy's, I don't know, I'm gonna have to check on that. But give yourself a grade for where you're at right now in terms of your own health issues, your physical abilities, how do you feel about getting out? Maybe some people don't feel great about going out as yet. And we know we respect those people that are in that situation, but we want to give them the ability too to start to move forward, right? So you just give yourself a number on that. The next one is, we jumped right into the mental issues. So how are you feeling about the world? The world's a little crazy out there if you haven't checked out. Certainly don't turn on the news because they're not really giving you good information anyway. But what I want you to do, I want you to check with your family members. I want to check with your spouse, your loved ones. How are they doing? I've talked about it here before, but I think about like my mom, my mother-in-law. I mean, people in their 80s and 90s, they were told, stay in, don't go anywhere. And if you were in a nursing home or assisted living, you had no choice at all. You were told, nope, nobody's coming to see you. That's it. Nope, that's it. All right. So now that we're coming out of that, and some people, as in my mom's case, my sister said, hey, Even mom was in assisted living. She wasn't that restricted, but still she was. So my sister was like, no way, she's coming out of there, right? So we made other arrangements. But for ourselves, what are you feeling about the next step here, about going and doing anything, getting out? Because you may be somewhat afraid of what's out there. And God knows, again, that's why you can't listen to the news, because they will freak you out so much, your head spins. So think about for yourself, where are you at? Maybe you have a son or a daughter at home. Maybe you do have grandma living with you. But again, for your own situation, about going out to have coffee here at Mocha Lisa's, going up to the restaurants, going up to Saratoga for SPAC. There'll be a lot of people there. Yeah, there will be, okay? But we need to move forward. We need to think about first, how do you feel about it? What's your thoughts on that situation? I don't want you to be afraid, but I want you to be real about what you're thinking right at this moment. Okay. So again, give yourself that grade. Jeremy, I think I'm going to look at yours. I'm going to look at your paper. I'm sorry, man. Sorry. And the third piece of that is, how do you feel from a spiritual standpoint? Okay. Spiritually, again, a lot of churches were closed. I know of some congregations that still haven't really opened up yet fully. And, it wasn't my choice. It wouldn't have been my choice, but that's what people did because of fear. And again, government issues saying, hey, you got to close up. But I think now more than ever, we kind of need our spiritual side. And we are going to need it to get to that next step. So again, for yourself, maybe you're feeling God left you. It's like, hey, what happened? What happened, God? You left me all alone here. I'm dealing with this, right? And I really believe that God is always with us, and the fact is that we have the opportunity to use His strength to move us forward. But a lot of people felt really like, hey, he forgot about me, all right? And no matter what your situation was through the process, we have the opportunity to renew and to move to the bigger step, all right? So give yourself a little mark on that paper in the back there, or on anywhere you want, or works great upside down, whatever you want to do. But give yourself some markings and get yourself a grade, and we can always talk about those issues later on, and we can talk about them further. But I think it's just important to know, where are you? Where do you stand in those three items about where we're going? Okay. And what we're going to talk about is going on where we are now. What's the journey? What's going to be the next step? What should be the next step? Are we sitting around waiting for the next lockdown? I'm not. I tell you that. Really not. And I'm certainly not going. We're not going to go backwards. It's a good friend of mine. My wife will tell you. A good friend of mine has a phrase. He talks about this in terms of business and in terms of life, and he goes, you don't go back into the hamper and use yesterday's underwear. You just don't, right? So, and that's we can chuckle at it, but the fact is the truth. You don't go back to yesterday's stuff. Everybody lives in a different place. Some people are like still waiting for them to get themselves their picture from the time when they blocked that pass in football, or the quarterback who threw the touchdown pass and wants to relive that. And sometimes people live more in the past. I personally live in the future. I really do. I'm really not here right now. No, I really think I always look at what that next step's going to be. And Katie May will tell you that in the office I drive her crazy, because I'm always like, what's next? What's the next step? Where are we going? Where are we going, right? Where are we going, right? What's happening? I mean, I actually really will say I live in the present. We want to know. We want to be enriched. PTC. PTC. Anybody know what that is? PTC. I thought I heard it. No? Yeah, no. Thank you, Marianne. Present time consciousness. Present time consciousness. Use it. All right? Well, you can worry about what happened in the past. You can worry about what's happening in the future. But really be enriched. And maybe if COVID taught us anything, maybe it should have taught us this. And I've learned this a long time ago when I was still in chiropractic college. But, present time consciousness. Be truly present. And we've all kind of stepped out of that sometimes. Like we're on the phone with somebody, and then somebody comes into the room where you're on the phone with somebody and you're trying to deal two things at once, trying to multitask. Some of us feel, hey, as Americans, we can multitask and do 40 things at once, right? But in that, you miss the joy of what's really happening in front of you. Maybe it is that conversation, maybe with your mom, or with a loved one, or a long lost friend. Present time consciousness, and I try to live that every day. We all kind of slip out of it a little bit, but you need to be truly present on what's happening right now, and be truly present with people, because guess what? Guess who's going to know if I'm sitting down with somebody and having maybe a conversation, and if my mind drifts, that other person I'm sitting with is going to know that. And they may not tell me. They're like, well, Doc doesn't know hey, I'm just leaving. I'm not going to deal with him anymore, right? They're just going to act. And if you're any type of practitioner, like in terms of massage or Reiki or those issues, and yes, chiropractor is part of that process as well, you've got to be there. So Katie May knows if she has to knock on the door while I'm with the patient, there had to be bombs going off, right? Or a fire, right? Because I need to be truly conscious of what's happening. And she worries about whatever's about the bombs and the fires. She worries about those things. Thank you, Katie May. We do appreciate that. So I've got to be truly present with people. I've got to understand everything they're saying to me. And maybe it's not what they're saying, it's what their body language is, whatever the case may be. All right? So I've got to be present, and I really ask all of you to look at the concept for yourself. Present time consciousness. It'll make your relationships with other people really fantastic, even better, particularly in terms of with your spouse, right? With your children, all right? My wife and I have 4 grandchildren now, and sometimes we almost need to focus in on one or the other, because they have so much to offer and so much to offer us, and we don't want to miss any of that time. So present time consciousness, all right? And as we go through this process, we realize that we are going to be, and we are going to start a new journey. And we need to start. The gun's gone off already. Bing, boom, whatever. Can't do a very good gun, I guess. But boom, the race is back on. We're moving again. Things are happening, okay? Because if you don't get moving, you're going to get run over, right? And if you're in business, all right, just in terms of your family life, your home life, you've got to restart those issues. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, the Joneses. Yeah, but we used to know them from 2.5 years ago before the COVID. But we used to go out to dinner with them every other weekend, right? You need to rebuild, reconnect those relationships, right? So we are going to go on a journey. And a friend of mine told me about the story about Albert Einstein going on a train. He was traveling through Jersey, and he gets on the train, he sits down, and he sees the conductor coming down to pick up the tickets. And he's going like this. Oh my, I don't have my ticket. Where is it? Where is it? So the conductor comes up, and Einstein's still a little nervous. He can't find the ticket. And the conductor says, Mr. Einstein, Dr. Einstein, don't worry about it. I know who you are. You're fine. Don't worry about finding me a ticket. I'm good. I'm just going to go on. But I'll come back. When I come back down the train, I'll ask you again. All right. So the conductor goes up and down, collects all the other tickets, comes back to Einstein and says, did you find the ticket yet? And Einstein's like, no, I don't know what's going on. I can't find it. And the conductor again says, don't worry about it, because I know who you are. You're fine. And Einstein says, no, you don't get it. I need to look at the ticket so I know where I'm going. All right? So if we're going to be on a journey, and I use this in the office a lot, I talk about, we all want to go to Miami, Florida. All right? It was a good thing right about January particularly, right? But we're going to go to Florida. How are you going to get there? You're going to buy plane? You're going to buy car? You're going to go via Montreal? I don't know. Sometimes some of the planes take you that way, right? But you have to have that, know the destination, and then talk about how you're going to get there. So right now, I think we're in a pivotal time. We're in the start of a new journey. And I want people to be moving along, not stuck in one spot anymore. We've been stuck in a spot for 2.5 years. And particularly in terms of that journey, is maybe it's time to, maybe you went to Florida in the past and you went by plane. Maybe it's the time to go by car and see all the sites that are between here and Miami, Florida, if that's where you're going. because maybe we missed some of that. Maybe it's that time again for that present time consciousness with some of those places that are down there en route, okay? And we look at that in terms of life, or at least many people do, I do, is that it's the journey. That's what's really the cool part. To say, okay, we got to Miami, or we got to here, and that's great. And my wife and I have had a chance to travel across Europe and all that, all pre-COVID times, right? But we had the time to travel, those great. But to me, the journey is part of that joy that you want to see. So we need to get back into that as well. What is the journey? Where we're going to go? Maybe we'll go a different way. And maybe we say, oh, we always did it this way. We always went by train or whatever it may be. Or we went by plane. Maybe it's time to check out a new way to going. And that would be that new enlightenment for a better situation, for a more enriched situation, right? And really what we do is we look at that for our health. And I think now more than ever too, we realize, wow, my health is so important. And I can't take that for granted because some people did. Some people got in trouble under the COVID issue simply because maybe they were taking a particular medication like an ACE inhibitor, which then when they found out afterwards, oh, if you're taking ACE inhibitors, you were a little more prone to the issue of the COVID virus, all right? Or maybe you were in a situation where you already had some other breathing concerns, right? Or maybe you already had a problem, you had some inflammation that was going on in your blood vessels. And really what they know now is that the COVID situation was not so much the lungs, it was more of the perfusion, how the oxygen in your blood was able to be into the lungs and the interaction, if you will. And we know now that, again, a lot of it was about those blood vessels. And many people are worrying about, or maybe they should be worrying about or thinking about their blood vessels right now, because again, bless you, what's the biggest problem? What's the number one reason why people die in the United States still today, despite COVID? It's heart issues, right? And a lot of it has to do with the blood vessels. I always think about the blood vessels like, I'm on the Northway. That's it's a transportation system, right? What does it do? It brings in what? What does it bring in? Where's your blood vessels? What's in there that's so good? What? You're saying clots? No. No, well, the clots, that's like the traffic jam. That's like the accident that's blocking the road, right? So we don't want those. But what's carrying? What's going through there? What's oxygen, right? So oxygen is what we need. We could all use a little bit more of it, right? Watch some of the NFL players, they're sitting there sucking on oxygen mask all the time, right? Oxygen is what we need. And if that gets blocked, that becomes a problem. And Darlene mentioned clots. Yeah, you don't want to clot because that is the roadblock. That's not allowing you to continue on your journey. And that can be a really big roadblock, right? But as we go on this journey, then the other issue is, let's figure out that, okay, we need to look at what could happen on that journey. Could you get into a big truck, if you're on the road, a big truck that gets in your way and you're like, I'm moving slower now, I can't really get there as fast, right? Or if I'm on the plane, as a lot of people may have traveled in the last month or so, there's a long TSA line, I missed my connecting flight. I don't know if any of you have traveled in the last month or so. What's that? Flights got canceled? That's right. All those things, okay? I lost my ticket like Einstein, right? So things can happen that knock you off base. But here's something I want you to understand, is that before, let's think back, not too long ago, before COVID, okay? Things happened. It didn't always go your way. It wasn't like every light was green when you were going down the highway, right? It didn't. And people had tragedies in their life. People passed, okay? And things that we really weren't happy with. And maybe things, again, that once again we questioned our spirituality. We questioned God. And the fact is that those things were happening then. Now COVID has happened, people question those things. But here's the key. When those previous issues happened, okay, is that you made a way around it. You figured it out, maybe with the help of some friends, maybe with the help of some family. You figured it out. You figured out how to get through that, get through the grief, right? And you went to the other side. And then You know, a lot of people said, well, I was doing great and things were happening, and then 2020 hit and COVID, you know, boom, right? But you were on that other side of it, and just like the golfer that's got to get that across the waterway there, get my ball across, which I could never do, but get the ball across. We're on the other side of it now, okay? And guess what? I'm standing here breathing, okay? Jeremy's standing here breathing, serving the coffee, all right? Dave's sitting here, he's sitting, he's not standing, he's sitting. But the bottom line is we're all here. And isn't that a great thing to rejoice and be in gratitude for, all right? So the journey continues. We're not done, we got lots to do. And something that I said to a lot of people, and I met a lot of people, not just through the office I was seeing, but I go to the grocery store. My wife's happy that I like to go to the grocery store. But we go to the grocery store, and so many people come up to me, people I didn't know, who just said, you know what, I'm really freaked out by all this COVID stuff, and I need some help. All right, I need some assistance. And my statement to them was always the same. I was like, do you really think that your life is over right now just because of COVID or whatever? You think you're done? And I don't care if you're 20, 40, 60, or 80. They would nod their head, and I'd say, no, you got lots to do. You have lots to do, okay? So this is not the end. This is just a big bump. It's a big truck blocking your way a little bit, all right? And you'll get to the other side. You'll get there. And that was tough for people to imagine in March or June of 2020, right? Not to say the least that a lot of people were on the news and politicians were telling, oh, you're doomed, you're doomed. And I just refuse to believe that myself, and I think all of you refuse to believe that's why you're sitting here, right? So we have a situation where we can get to the other side. And on our journey, that's where we're at right now, is that we have a decision to make. Do you want to step forward, or you just want to hang here for a while and see what happens next, right? I firmly believe that the people that are going to do the best are the ones that are going to map out their journey, figure out what are we taking on, what are we going to do? We're going to go to Florida, right? What are we going to take? Hopefully not your big overcoat that you wore in the wintertime, okay? But you got to figure out what's going to be in there. I tell people, for what we have right now, and the truth of it is, there will be another virus, there'll be something, okay? But we got that covered, we really do. We have an immune system, works really great. Just feed it a little while, you know, pet it once in a while, give it some love, all right? And it'll do great for you. And then if you need more, again, we always talk about, all right? And even my granddaughter knows that. You've got your conjuplex and your immuplex, and you've got immune support issues, and you've got vitamin D and zinc. Oh, by the way, I did hear something about that zinc thing or vitamin D, because even the news started to admit that if you had some zinc, the better your zinc levels, the better you were able to get through it, okay? No, nothing magic, just straightforward stuff, all right? Nothing that cost $1 million to get. Nothing you had to go, 6 countries across to get. Zinc, all right? You can eat some foods that have zinc in it. You can eat some foods that have different minerals in it. Activate your vitamin D by the sun. Isn't that great? Again, all the things that God gave us to make this work, all right? And when we look at it, all right, we realize that on our journey, who are we going to trust to give us that information about where to go? What's the best way to go? All right? A lot of people lost some trust, and so did I, in medicine, in healthcare. Quite honestly, I think that a lot of people did. As a society, we lost trust. We lost trust in those politicians that kept telling us stories about what they wanted us to know, and it wasn't really the truth, sorry to say. It wasn't the truth. We lost in a lot of people who maybe they were your family members who told you things that they heard on the news that wasn't correct either, all right? So the thing is, who do you trust? So on this journey now, we need to figure out, what do you need in your packaging? What do you need in your little kit? What do you need to take, all right? But also then, who are you going to trust along the way, okay? Because in that situation, you have to be a little bit, we want to be Christian about it, but we have to be a little bit smarter in knowing who really is giving us the truth. And here's something you'll never really be 100%, and I think a lot of people are waiting for that. I need that stamp of approval, 100%, that this is the way to go, okay? Where is that answer when you come to that road, that crossroad, about what you need to do, okay? It's not out there, and the answers are never out there, right? They're right in here. This is where the answers are. And you make a decision, maybe wrong, maybe right, but you make a decision for yourself, all right? And many of you already know my story. When my father died and I was still a young man, and my mother looked at me and said, what are we gonna do next? And I kind of was like, who is she asking that question of? I don't know. Not me, certainly not me. I was not, but she was asking me, all right? But it was a great turning point. Now, I say a turning point, a pivotal point, and even my life to say, you know what, we may not have all the ducks in a row, maybe not all the ducks, one's hanging out someplace else, right? Maybe not all the ducks in a row, but you've done what you can to prepare your kit of your trip. You figured out who the people are that you can rely on and trust, and then you had to go forward, because you just can't sit right there, all right? You have to go to a better situation, and it's out there for us, but we got to make that step forward, we really do. And so right now, for tonight, I want you to look at two things. Number one is that you're going to know when I ask on the test, there will be a test maybe next month, right, Jeremy? PTC, present time consciousness, all right? You're going to go on, it's a new journey starting now, starting right this second for some people. The journey is, we're going to Florida, say, for our example, right? Where are we going to go? And we need to pack the kit. What's going to be in that suitcase, if you will, right, Darlene? What's in that suitcase you're going to need, right? And who are you going to trust? Who are you going to figure out? And again, you may not always have the issues, but the answers are right here in your heart and your head about how you're going to proceed. But I think a lot of people are missing some of those points about what are they going to do? And here's another thing you're not going to do. You're just not going to do it anymore. You're not going to listen to somebody on the TV set. You're not going to listen to some government official. You're not going to listen to people that don't have your best interest at heart. And you got to recognize who those people are that have your best interest at heart and who the ones that do not, all right? And for me, you look to yourself first to help you make those decisions. Do your research, figure out what's out there, all right? Again, get your kit, figure out who your helpers and who's not. Not everybody's going to be your helper, all right? But then you get to stamp your ticket to move forward on that journey, wherever that may be. A new business, perhaps. You know how many people I know who were starting new businesses during COVID, right? Those of you, students of history, more millionaires were made during the Depression than any other time in history, all right? So it's an opportune time to start anew, start that journey. And maybe if you said, hey, you know what, maybe I did gain that 19 pounds over COVID, maybe I did have some other issues, maybe I left myself go a little bit on some things, I'm going to start right now, today, on a new situation for your health. So that when next virus comes along, something comes along, my immune system is going to be strong, and again, we're going to be able to really have my ticket punched to go on that journey that I want to go on. And if you need any help on those issues, what to pack in your kit, or if you just need a little rah-rah maybe, that's what we found. Katie, May, and I found ourselves doing that a lot with people. They come in, I don't know what to do. But when they got inside the office, they understood that it was a safe spot for them to figure things out. That we're here to help you, right? And the bottom line for now is we need to move forward, and we can do so safely and without a lot of concerns, because the world is out there for us to do, and we've got a lot of things that we all need to work on. And again, I don't care if you're 20, 40, 60, or 80, because the other day, Katie May again will tell you, we had people in the office, I looked around and I said, wow, so-and-so's 92, so-and-so's 96, so-and-so's 98, so-and-so's 99, okay? And I told all of them, and they knew the answers. I didn't need to tell them. They knew the answers. They had a lot to do. COVID, schmovid, we're going to do things, okay? We're going to do things well and do things effectively. And that is the message for tonight. You can move forward. We can hop on that train or hop on that plane and go on our journey to better health, and go on a journey to number one, live life as we're expected to do so. All right. Thank you. Any questions?